Alright, so here's part 2 for our Law of Sines video. Uh, if you haven't watched the first part, I would go watch the first part before you watch this one. I'll do this one and one more, so there'll be 3 parts to this. Alright, so just real quick, we have the sine of angle A over A is equal to sine of angle B over B, which is equal to the sine of angle C over C. These are the angles, the capital letters. The lowercase letters are the sides. And just remember the angle A over side A. Side A is opposite angle A. Side B is opposite angle B. And side C is opposite angle C. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started on this one. Alright, so solve the triangle. So let's go ahead and make a table. So I've got my angles, my sides. So I've got angle A, angle B, angle C is 88.7 degrees. Alright, so we don't know angle A and angle B. So side A, well, we don't know that either. Side B is 56.87. Side C is 112.4. Alright, so, well, the only thing that we can solve for here is side B. I'm sorry, is angle B. Okay, see, we have side B, side C, and angle C. So we plug those in and we can solve for angle B. So I've got the sine of B over 56.87 is equal to the sine of 88.7 degrees over 112.4. Alright, so now let's solve for sine B. So sine B is 56.87 times the sine of 88.7 over 112.4. And so I get sine B is equal to, and we'll have to punch this into our calculator. Okay, so we punched that into our calculator and we got sine of B is equal to this. Okay, so we're good to go because the sine of B is equal to something between -1 and +1. If you remember in the first video on the first problem, we got like, I think it was 1.4 something, and that's what caused it to not be a triangle. Alright, so now to find angle B, we need to take the inverse sine of this thing. So B would be, and then I take the inverse sine of this, that is 30.4 degrees. Okay. Alright, so I get B is 30.4 degrees. Alright, now look at this. This is where you have to be careful here. So I've got angle B is 30.4 degrees. So remember that sine, see, I've got sine B is equal to a positive number. And I took the inverse sine, and that gives me this angle in the first quadrant. But remember, sine is also positive in the second quadrant. Okay, and the angle measures in the second quadrant are between what, 90 degrees and 180 degrees. Now if we think about this, can an angle of a triangle be between 90 and 180? Yes, we could have an angle that's 179 degrees. It's just that the other two angles in the triangle would have to add up to 1 degree. All right. So we have to check for a second triangle. Okay. So this B here, this 30.4, that is this angle, which if you remember, that's your reference angle. Okay. And so I'm just going to call this B for right now. So here, B would be 180. See, the 180 minus 30.4. So B, 180 minus 30.4, that gives me 149.6 degrees. Okay. Now I'm not saying that there's two triangles that are solution. I'm saying there's a possibility of two triangles. So what we have to do is, if there's a second triangle, I'm going to have another table over here. Okay, now just watch this real quick. I'm just going to write the angles column down for right now. So I've got A, I don't know, B, we don't know, and C, well, C, that was given. That's 88.7. And so what I'm saying is, for the possibility of my second triangle, angle B would be 149.6 degrees. Okay, so if I take these two angles, the 149.6 degrees plus the 88.7 degrees, and I add those up, I end up with, oh, that's not an equal sign there. I end up with 238.3. Well, that can't happen. Two angles of a triangle cannot add up to more than 180 degrees. It has to be less, because see, we still have this angle. Okay, so there's not a second triangle. There's only one triangle here. Okay, but you have to check for the possibility of a second triangle. Now, the last part of this law of sines, it's going to be two triangles. So you might want to watch that video and you can see how that goes. But just remember, when you're using the law of sines, when you calculate that angle, you have to check for a second triangle. Okay, I'm not saying there's going to be two triangles, but there is a possibility of two triangles. And we checked it, and then we noticed that the given angle and the angle in the second quadrant added up to more than 180, so that means it's only one triangle. It will not be two. All right, now let me talk about this for a second. All right, so we checked for the two triangles here. Now, if you watch the first part, notice in this problem we didn't check for two triangles. And the reason is because if you see this, we were given two triangles. There's nothing else C can be. It has to be 66.2. Okay, so there's not a possibility of two triangles here. But over here in problem 3, we were only given one angle and two unknowns. So if you're given an angle and two unknown angles, you're going to have to check for that second triangle. All right, so now that we've established there's only one triangle, I can solve for angle A. So A is going to be 180 minus 30.4 degrees minus 88.7 degrees. So that's 180 minus 30.4 minus 88.7. And so that is 60.9 degrees. And so angle A is 60.9 degrees. And now we can solve for side A. And just like I explained in the first video, I'm going to use the information for angle C and side C because both of those are given. This was calculated. All right, so I have the sine of 60.9 degrees over side A is equal to the sine of 88.7 degrees over 112.4. So I solve for side A. I get A, that'll come over, that's 112.4 times the sine of 60 point, nope, I'm sorry, times the sine of 88.7 degrees over the sine of 60.9 degrees. And so I get A is, well, I had it right the first time. Let me correct this. That's going to be the sine of 60.9 degrees over the sine of 88.7 degrees. Sorry about that. Alright, and plugging that into our calculator, we get an answer of 98.2. Okay, and this would be our answer. Alright, so I think that's all I'm going to do for part 2. We're already up over around 11 and a half minutes. So I'll do the last problem in part 3, and like I said, that one will have a solution of 2 triangles. I would encourage you to watch the first video. It was where we had no triangle and 1 triangle also. Alright, so hope this helped. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my other videos and watch part 3. Alright, thanks.